Good morning, Bernie Sanders. How's
Good
everything?
morning.
Good morning, Senator Sanders.
How are you guys doing?
We're doing pretty
We
good.
man. We was hoping to see you in person, but a phone call is good enough.
Thank you.
Now, I like the platform you stand on. You know, the issue of wealth and income inequality. I agree with you. It makes no sense that billionaires get all the huge tax breaks. But how exactly do you plan to get money to the people who need it?
We're going to target money to the people who need it the most. We're going to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. We're going to do pay equity for women workers. We're going to rebuild our crumbling infrastructure. That's, Flint, Michigan, which is a total disaster, is not the only city in America that's suffering from infrastructural breakdown. We're going to invest $1 trillion, create 13 million jobs, and target those jobs to the communities that need it the most. I think one of the problems right now with federal allocations, they don't always go to the communities that need it the most, and we intend to change that.
Now, Senator Sanders, does Donald Trump scare you? At first it seemed like a joke, but it
Right.
doesn't seem funny anymore.
No, you're right. That's exactly right. At first it seemed like a joke, but now it's not funny. Look, he's tapping into a lot of anger and a lot of frustration, and he's doing it in the way that demagogues have always done it. They scapegoat people. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They play one group off against the other. They tap people's angers, and they say, it's the Muslims' fault. We're going to prevent Muslims from coming in America, and we're going to make America great. All Latinos are rapists, the criminals, and we're going to throw them out. That's crap. That's crap. We have serious problems in this country that need serious solutions, and what he is doing is tapping the worst and most base instincts of people, and we got to stand up to him and fight back.
Now, Senator Sanders, Hillary Clinton has been receiving a lot of flack because she supported the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act of '94, which put a lot of black people in jail. And you also voted for some of those same criminal justice measures, but you're denouncing them. But shouldn't you be kind of held accountable too?
Yep. Look, the answer is yes, but here's the other answer. Sometimes, as you know, there is legislation that it's a very big piece of legislation that has some good stuff. For example, in that legislation there was a provision called violence against women. Domestic violence, as you know, is a very serious problem in this country. That provision was in that bill. Another provision banned assault weapons. Well, I have for a long time believed that we should not be selling military-style assault weapons that can kill dozens of people in a few minutes. Right. That was in that bill as well. So what happens sometimes, you got a bill that has some good stuff and some bad stuff. But let me say this. We have more people in jail today than any other country on earth, more than China, 2.2 million people, largely African-American, largely Latino. That has got to change. The criminal justice system is broken, and I will do everything that I can to reform that broken system.
Okay, now one question that's a big issue right now is police brutality.
Yes.
Now, what are some things that you think we can do to better the relationships between the community and the police?
Very important question. All right, number one, if a person dies while being while being arrested by a police officer or in police custody, that should trigger a Department of Justice federal investigation. Number two, if police officers break the law, and we have seen that time and time again, they have got to be held accountable. Number three, we got to demilitarize these local police departments to look like occupying armies. We got to make police departments look like the diversity of the communities they serve. In my view, we got to get marijuana out of the Federal Controlled Substance Act, because African Americans are 4 times more likely to be arrested for possession of marijuana than whites, despite the fact that both communities smoke marijuana about the same level. And there's a lot that has to be done. But we need major police reform in this country.
You know what else, Senator Sanders? I know that you want to make college tuition free and debt free, and you want universal health care. I would love to see that happen, but I don't want my taxes raised to cover that.
Okay.
Yeah, taxes are pretty high already.
Okay, let's deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not college free. It's public colleges and universities. And you know why I want to do that?
Why?
Because today, a college degree is in many ways the equivalent of what a high school degree was 50 or 60 years ago. And also, you got student debt there crushing millions of people in this country. People graduate school $50,000, $100,000 in debt. We are going to pay for that, not by taxing you, but by imposing a tax on Wall Street speculation. You remember that when Wall Street's greed and illegal behavior crashed this economy, the Congress bailed them out. Now it is Wall Street's time to help the middle class. That tax on Wall Street speculation will pay completely for public colleges and universities being tuition-free and lowering student debt. Now, in terms of health care,
Right.
the truth is we spend today far, far more per capita on health care than do the people of any other nation. And you got 29 million people who are uninsured. I believe in a Medicare for all single-payer system. And you know what? It will save you, the average middle-class family, thousands of dollars a year on their health care costs.
Right.
That's the program that we wrote. So if you want to save money, yes, your taxes will go up a little bit, but your health care costs will go down a whole lot.
Now, what about for our military? Now, with ISIS being concerned in our military and us overseas fighting, what do you say for our military?
What I say is that I do not want to see the United States get involved in a perpetual warfare in the Middle East. I voted against the war in Iraq. Secretary Clinton voted for the war in Iraq. I think I agree with King Abdullah of Jordan, and he said that ultimately what ISIS is about is a group of people who have hijacked Islam. The war there is for the soul of Islam, and must be the Muslim nations on the ground with American support in the air, the training of military equipment, but it has got to be the Muslim troops on the ground who destroy ISIS. So I will do everything I can to keep us out of perpetual warfare in the Middle East.
Now, Senator Sanders, now one thing that also concerns me about you is, do you think you might be too old to be president?
Well, I think you want to follow me around for a few days.
See if I can keep up.
I was a pretty good long-distance runner when I grew up in Brooklyn, one of the better runners in the city, and thank God I am healthy, and thank God I have very, very good endurance. I would not have gotten into this unless I was healthy and strong, and I'm feeling just great.
Now, why should the black community vote for you, Bernie Sanders?
Okay.
And
Fair
women.
point. And women, right.
Right.
All right. Good question. I think if you check my record, you're looking at a guy who has stood up to big money, stood up to special interests and the establishment throughout my whole political life. In 1988, Jesse Jackson ran for president of the United States. My state is 95% white. I endorsed Jackson in 1988, one of the very few, I think there were 3 white public officials, I was mayor of Burlington, Vermont, to support Jackson. Why did I do that? I did that not because he was black. I did it because the program that he was outlining of economic and social and racial justice was one that I believed in. When I was a kid, back at the University of Chicago, I was all of 22 years of age. I was involved in the civil rights movement, got arrested. Check my record in the Congress in fighting for civil rights. Look at my record right now and the program we're bringing forth on dealing with a broken criminal justice system, on the need to create millions of good-paying jobs. You know what? Right now, and we don't talk about it, I talk about it every damn speech I give. Doesn't get a whole lot of media attention. I asked for some economists to do a study for me, and what real unemployment in among black kids, 17 to 20, who graduated high school, do you know what it is today?
What's that?
51%. What do you think about that?
Wow.
51%.
Wow.
And if we ask why it is that we have so many people in jail, that's one of the reasons. We got to create jobs for these kids. We got to have educational opportunities for these kids, and not just arresting them and sending them to jail.
Do you think Congress is going to allow you to do half of the things you want to do, Senator Sanders? Because everything you say sounds great.
Sounds amazing.
But it sounds like hope. It sounds like Congress is not going to allow any of that to happen.
Here's what I think. What I think is right now you got a Congress largely dominated by folks who are much more interested in pleasing the needs of their billionaire campaign contributors than the needs of working families. And let me be, as honest as I can, and people may not feel comfortable hearing this, but this is the truth.
Mm-hmm.
The only way we change America is when millions of people stand up and fight back. That's the history of the trade union movement, the history of the civil rights movement, the history of the women's movement, the history of all serious movements. People have got to stand up and fight back. And right now, when you got the top 1/10 of 1% owning almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%, when you have a middle class which is disappearing, now is the time for people to stand up and fight back. And when people fight back, yeah, we can make profound changes in this country.
And now, let me ask you this. How would you review President Barack Obama in his terms in office?
I think he has done an extraordinary job. If you remember where we were as a country when Bush left office, we were losing 800,000 jobs a month.
Right.
We had a $1.4 trillion deficit. And by the way, the world's financial system was on the verge of collapse. We have come a long way in the last 7 years, despite the horrendous Republican obstructionism, which continues to today when they try to deny him the right to appoint a Supreme Court justice. So I think he has done a very good job. Have I disagreed with him on some issues? Absolutely, I have. I'm a United States Senator, and that's what democracy is about. Right. But I have stood with him time and time and time again in the fight against Republican obstructionists.
Do you think you could have more impact as a president or a civil rights activist?
Oh, as a president. Now, as a president, you got, not only do you have the power of the presidency, you have the bully pulpit. And the bully pulpit now says, in my view, it says to the people out there who are making $9 or $10 an hour, you know what? You got to stand up. We got to fight for $15 an hour and the right to organize a union. It says to women, you know, nationally, women are making 79 cents on the dollar compared to men. Right. That's just outrageous. For African American women, the numbers are even worse. Mm-hmm. So we need pay equity for women workers. We need a child care system all over this country, my own state of Vermont, all over this country. Mom and dad go to work. You know what? They can't find quality, affordable child care. We've got to change that. So let me ask, you know, I hear your point saying, well, these are great ideas, but they're too expensive. But here's what I want to say. In the last 30 years, there has been a massive transfer of wealth going in the wrong direction, going from working families who have become, in many ways, poorer to the top 0.1% who have become richer. So, yes, I do believe that the top 1%, the top 0.1%, large profitable corporations have to start paying their fair share of taxes.
How do you feel about the Ferguson Commission? I know Hillary Rodham Clinton wants to build on the Ferguson Commission. Do you plan to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, what went on in Ferguson and what's going on today is a disaster. You cannot have a police department that is just assaulting African Americans, ignoring the needs of African Americans, is very reluctant to change, and that has got to change. I'm going to be off in a few hours to Flint, Michigan, and I'll tell you something, and this is really true. I met last week, I was in Detroit, and I met with some people from Flint. What I heard from them, I honestly almost could not believe that this was happening in the United States of America. If you hear from those people what's happening to their children, it is beyond belief. And
even the schools in Detroit have been really bad as well.
You're absolutely right.
The conditions there.
Absolutely right. This gets back to my first point. Look, I happen to like Hillary Clinton. I respect her. But I think it is too late, in my view, for establishment politics and establishment economics. I think we need a political revolution where people get involved in a way we have not seen in many years and stand up and fight back.
You know what I would like to see? You have relationships with Killer Mike, and we've seen Hillary Clinton trying to do the dab on Ellen. Do you listen to hip hop? Is that something that you listen to? And who are your favorite artists?
I'm not. I've gotten to know Killer Mike in the last couple of months, and this is a very, very impressive guy. It's a very smart guy, and a guy who does an extraordinary job in communicating with young people, black young people, white young people, Latino young people.
Right.
I'm very happy to have him on board, but I'm not going to tell you I am a big, very knowledgeable about hip-hop.
Now, Mr. Sanders, when you say you would like to see 1 million people, fight back, it makes me think of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He wanted to implement the Poor People's Campaign. Like when I hear what you talk about as far as the wealth going to the richest people in the country, I feel like we need something like that. We need like a Poor People's Campaign. Yeah.
Look, I date myself. You asked me about my age. All right, let me make a confession to you. I was there. I was there in 1963 for the March on Washington with Dr. King. And it was called the March for Jobs and Freedom. And you know that when Dr. King was assassinated, he was there standing with garbage workers in Memphis, Tennessee. He said, these people are being exploited. And as you just pointed out, What he was organizing at the time of his death was what we call a poor people's campaign.
Yep.
And he said, we got to bring blacks and poor whites and poor Latinos and poor Native Americans. We got to bring them together to change the national priorities of America. So we're not spending huge amounts of money on the military. We're not giving huge tax breaks to the rich, but we are paying attention to the least among us, those people who are hurting. Do I believe that? Yeah, I do.
A lot of people said that's why he was assassinated, for bringing that together, that kind of unity.
Well, I don't know. Can't tell you exactly why he was assassinated. But what I will tell you is once he began to go beyond just civil rights, when he spoke out against the war in Vietnam, when he spoke out about income and wealth inequality, when, as you just said, he talked about bringing people of different races together, he became a much less popular person among the establishment. That is for sure.
Right. Well, we appreciate you for calling in and checking in this morning.
We'd love to see you up here. I know our listeners would love to see
you
up
here.
All
right, we'll do our best to make it.
Don't you talk to me like a politician. You're not going to come. I
won't make any promises.
We won't make any promises, maybe.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right.
Bye-bye.
There you have it. It was Senator Sanders on The Breakfast Club. Good morning.